Hi, I'm Chuck Dorsett for Weaver Leather Supply. We've got a great project. Very simple, absolutely, but the outcome, these are beautiful and they are going to add just a touch of class to any home, office environment, or establishment. These look good. All right, so anything I use in this video, weaverleathersupply.com or check below. We've got links there, going to take you straight to the website. Also, if you want to know when our videos release, just click your notifications. You'll know exactly when these come out. So let's step over to our pattern table, get started. We've got a simple pattern here that's going to make a beautiful project. That's going to be a nice set of coasters. So we've got a digital pick. We'll look at this shortly, but here's what we're doing. So on our main coaster, we're going to cut two pieces. We're going to glue those together with contact cement. That's going to give them a very firm feel. That feels like a quality project. On our strap or our holder, this is simply two straps. We're going to drop one rivet and a Sam Browne in, and we're there. All right, so digital picks. Again, on our main body, we're 4 inches by 4 inches, or about 10 by 10 centimeters. We've got two straps. So right here, these are 5/8 of an inch. We're going to come in 3/8 of an inch. Then our spread on our holes, 4 3/4 of an inch. Now, on this longer strap right here, we're going to add another 3/8 of an inch, basically 3/4 of an inch out, so we have a small tab to grab. All right, so easy enough. Let's step over to our main table, cut some leather. We're going to make it easy on ourselves. We're going to overcut, then trim to size. That'll give us a perfect edge on every coaster. So right here, I've got a panel. This is 8.5 by 8.5. That gives us 1/4 of an inch all the way around to trim off. Now this is our pattern sheeting. Love it for patterns. It's easy to mark, easy to cut, but very durable. So we're going to cut two of these. Now on our leather, love it. The Solstice, 6 absolutely beautiful colors. Now it's a 100% veg tan. So for those of us that like to work in the veg, we don't have to dye, we don't have to top coat. It's about a 3 to 4 ounce, but the best part to me, it's got a good waxy feel to it. This is going to be perfect for coasters. Okay, so let's take our panel. I'm going to mark and cut two of these. Now, two good points on these when we're cutting. Well, first off, we've got a top coat on this, so that can be very slippery. Let's try to hold our square as best we can. But secondly, this outside cut doesn't have to be perfect. We're going to trim this off. Good, we've got that. So now, our straps. Let's cut these. So I'm going to trim that off. Wooden strap cutter, best tool in my shop per cost. So right here, we need two at 5/8 of an inch wide, one at 10 1/4, one at 10 1/2. So look at that. How easy is that? So let's cut two of these. And let's trim these to size. Now, just in case we didn't get a perfect start, let's just trim a little bit off of that. Okay, we need 10 1/4 and 10 1/2. Let's reset, add some glue. Let's set our straps aside, we'll come back to those. So we're going to add glue to both of our pieces. Now we've overcut these, but nonetheless, I want to go right to the edge. But secondly, we could go with a white glue, but liquids are going to be involved with coasters, with drink coasters, so let's go with a contact cement. But when we do, two pieces of leather are going to look, feel, and react as one. It's also going to give us a little body. So again, let's go right to our edge. Now, great thing here, I always warn us about this. If we're working with a natural veg tan and we get glue on our mat here and run our project across it, that's a disaster. Well, we've got a top coat here. So if we do that, it's going to peel right off. But nonetheless, let's try to be careful. So how about we do this? Let's just go right to the edge of our mat here. And let's just run off the edge all the way around. Then I'll add glue everywhere else. Then the same to the other panel. And it looks like we've got a good glue content all the way around. Now, for me, I'd like to go over our edges one more time, simply because I don't want those to separate. So let's just run around the edges on both panels. Then we'll let this glue set. And our last edge, now again, probably not totally necessary, but I would like to give these the opportunity to last for years and years. Okay, so let's give these about 10 minutes, let that glue set. We've given this ample dry time. What I'm looking for with a contact cement is I want the glue to appear and feel dry, but I want it to be tacky. That's what we need. Now, one more big point with the S18 or any contact cement. We need good ventilation with these. Okay, so let's lay this over. Now, we don't have to hit this absolutely perfectly because, again, we've overcut, but let's do our best to get those edges to meet. There we go. Okay, now with our roller, this is the larger roller, but that's got some good weight to it. Let's hit our edges, but at the same time, we've got a little bit of a hard edge here. I don't want to ding my leather. And that looks good. Okay, let's reset, cut to size. If you didn't get a perfect meet on these, I didn't either. But both panels are square. So what we'll do is we'll measure from this top panel. Then once we make this cross cut, we'll measure from those cuts. So we'll have no issue there. So let's start right here. And again, I want to measure edge to edge on the panel I can see, 8.5 inches across. So let's take our knife at 4.25 inches. Let's make a mark. Good. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing to the other 3 sides, but again, measuring from the upper panel. And 4.25 on that one. Okay, now let's cut across. Good. Okay, now we've got a good straight line on our inside corners. In fact, we can double check that. Very square. Good. So what I'll do now to each one of these, I'm going to square to one of our cut sides. Let's come over 4, cut. And then the same to this side, let's square to the side we just cut. And there we are. Let's just double check. We are square on every corner. Nice. I'm going to do the same thing to the other 3. We have got 4 square coasters. Let's say, look at that. They stack up nicely. Very good. Okay, next up, we're going to go with a 25mm corner knife. Let's hit all 4 corners on all 4 coasters. And our last round corner, well, I could have done a better job on a couple of those, but those don't look too bad, okay? So let's step over to a number 1 edger. We're going with a smaller edger. I don't want a big bevel on these, but I just want to take off that edge. So let's go all the way around, both sides, all 4 coasters. And we've got an edge on all 4 pieces. Now at this point, we could absolutely hand sew these. But how about we step over to my shop? Let's sew these on our 303. Let's go with our Weaver 303. I love this machine. Now I'm not saying that simply because I work for Weaver. I am not a production shop sewer. I never have been. But this machine almost makes me feel like I am. It's easy to thread, easy to maintain, and our stitch speed, we can get that needle or that speed down to 1 stitch per second. That way, I feel like I have absolute control where that next stitch is going to go. Now, on the thread, we've got 3 colors here, black, brown, and white. The brown and the black both would look good on this. We're going to go with the brown, and this is a number 92. So let's come over. I'm going to start about halfway across one of my sides, and I'm going to put the top edge of my bevel right on the inside of that foot. Let's hold our thread and advance. Good, there we go. Now when we get down to a corner, let's slow, turn. Maybe one more in the turn, and now we're on our way. And now let's come down our last edge. And let's over sew. I would go about 4. Okay, progress down to right there. That's going to let our tension off. Okay, well, like I said, I am not a production shop sewer, but nonetheless, we're always our own worst critic, aren't we? Okay, so I'm going to do the balance of the 3. And our last one, well, those look pretty good. That was easy enough. All right, back to our main shop. Let's add a nice detail to the edges of our coasters. We're going to go with the Fibings edge die. This applicator makes this so easy. So what we need to do is let's turn this over, press it down, and let's get a good die content in the applicator. Good. Now watch how easy this is. And we can hit it hard edge so easily. All right, let's go all the way around. And let's get right to that edge, but again, that makes it so easy. Now it takes a second to get a little die in this applicator, but once we do, that goes on so easily. And just a little touch up. Well, those look good, very nice. Okay, our strapping. And how good does that look and how easy is that? Very nice. Let's give these about 20 minutes dry time. We've given our edges ample dry time. Let's mark for our holes. Now let's make sure, because these straps are almost the same length. But let's drop these in, and with an awl, let's mark for our rivet holes. And we are almost done. Let's step over to our punch table. I said rivet holes, but really just these 2 center holes are for rivets. The balance are for Sam Brown. But the screw post and a small rivet, about the same size. We'll talk about those. But let's start right here. We're going to go with a 5/8 inch round end punch. Now, if you have a larger size, that's going to work. A 3/4, 1 inch will look fine. But if you don't have the tool at all, we can simply just clip the corners on that. That'll look fine. So let's hit the end on both straps. And we've got those. Well, those look good. Now, over to our revolving or our rotary punch. This is top shelf. Now, we've got a great revolving punch, and I love it. It's a good, solid tool, replaceable tubes. But this has got something I've rarely ever seen, a replaceable anvil. Once that goes on a revolving punch, the tool's useless. Right there, that's replaceable. Tubes are replaceable. We can even replace that spring. So, for our rivet holes in our Sam Brown, I'm going to go up to about the 4th tube. Let's hit all of these except right here where we've got our extra tab. We're not going to punch that just yet. Those look good. Now for our Sam Brown, the trick here is I'm not trying to hit a hole that's the size of the head. I want to hit the throat. So that's going to be about 1 tube up. Maybe about the 2nd from the top. Good. Let's drop that in, and then we'll slit this once we get over to our main table. There we go. All right, let's move this, set our rivet. I had the antique nickel rivets out. It's one of my favorite finishes. But let's go with an antique brass on the Sam Brown and a small double cap antique brass. Technically, that's a 5/16, but that's perfect for 2 3-4s back to back. So we can go either side up, does not matter. And there we are. Now on our setter, this is part of a good set because we can set rivets, line 24, 20, our segment snaps, and we've got a nice anvil with that. So let's line that up. And there we go. Okay, back over to our main table. When we're putting in a Sam Brown, we're going to add a little slit to this hole so that it fits over the head, sits comfortably around the throat. Here's the trick to this. I need the slit away from the stress. So right there, if our sand brown's there and we're pulling on it this way, I want my slit on this side. So let's drop in a 1/2 inch slit. Now, one more point. We didn't do this on the board, on the poly board, because this is our poundo board. Makes a great cutting surface. It allows our blade to sink into the surface, gives us a good cut. But let's do that right here. Let's add a good slit, and let's flip that around. And there we are. Let's make sure we've opened that up. We have. Good. Now let's take care of our ends. And let's just cover our ends. Well, those absolutely look great. Nice touch on the edge paint. Let's jump over to our pattern table, knock in our sand brown. We're done. Let's start with a little bit of the Leathercraft cement. What I'd like to do is put a little on the throat of the cap here, just so it doesn't work its way out over time. But that's about all we really need, okay? So over here, doesn't matter what order we're in, but let's do this. Let's start opposite of our tab. I'm going to take my post, come through from our flesh side. Now let's bring that around, and left or right first, doesn't matter. Good. Okay, let's screw our sand brown cap down on that. And it's pretty easy to get that very tight. Now, one of the most stressful things about these videos is that you and I find out if this fits at the same time. But again, this may be a little tight. It will soften up with some use. But let's see if we can get that in there, straighten it out, and let's see about bending our tab over. Actually, that is perfect. Straighten it out a little bit. And there we are. Well, that is a good looking coaster set. I like that. Very clean, very finished, very professional. I think this is one of my favorite types of leathercraft projects. Well, it's not terribly difficult. It's something we can use in our day-to-day life, but the biggest, these are gorgeous. These are definitely going to add a level of class to my house. I hope you have a great time with your coasters, and I hope they add a little bit of class to your house too. Good luck with your projects.